Welcome to What the Flick Mad Men, episode 8, The Crash.
Correct.
Ben Mankiewicz, Alonso Duralde, Brett Erlich. So Ken Cosgrove is involved in that crash at the beginning, and I just want to jump right to the point of them. And then they take these, massive amounts of B12, probably?
Speedballs.
Yeah, it was just like general stimulant.
Well, I mean, the whole thing, we always heard for years that Kennedy would get, had his Dr. Feelgood who was giving him B12 shots, and now they're saying, well, it was kind of more like meth.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like 25-hour energy drink.
Yeah, so I think, the proprietary stimulant here was probably meth.
Right, it's great stuff. And then, so I loved it. So Ken is in this car accident, and then his little scene of him on the meth is dancing, taught by his girlfriend, right?
So,
or was his parents? I can't remember.
His mom. The story changed.
The story changed. But I mean, he's got like we don't even know what he did to his leg, and he's doing this dance, and I'm like,
that's gonna hurt later.
Like, total. That's all I kept thinking. I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna be in such pain when this wears off. So obviously, this was a tremendous episode. As we keep thinking that maybe we have all we need to know about Don. But we don't, and it's almost like they take it right to the point where in the last couple of weeks, whether Shank's been here or Anna's been here or Gina's been here or us, that you like people getting like fed up with Don. Like enough. The guy's he's such a dick. Like I'm sorry. And then you get this. Hold on. It was so much worse than you think for him.
Exactly.
That now you got to cut him a break.
It was like not only is his first sexual, not only is it's so much to sit through, but like his first sexual experience is so dysfunctional, and it continues to get more dysfunctional even after. I guess before it was setting up the dysfunction that it would create.
I wrote here by note. Don is going to fuck the only decent caregiver he ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's. And so, whatever, he got raped, he got molested. Like, he's like, no, please don't. No, please, you were so nice to me. You let me stay in your room. You gave me soup. And now
broth in a brothel.
Broth in a brothel. Right. And now you're going to give me a hand job at a bare minimum. Right.
So where do we start?
Right. And then to get beaten by his stepmother for it.
Right.
Yeah. As if he did it.
Ugh.
Oh, come on.
Who in this place loves me?
Yeah.
This episode was a weird combination of things where on the one hand, they went to very bizarre territory just because everybody was, buzzed out on speed. But then there were some really super on-the-nose moments, like where Don at the very end says, every time we get a car, this place turns into a whorehouse.
Yeah.
That's the last line. I'm willing to forgive that.
But Peggy quotes Wordsworth and says the child is the father of the man. So of course that's with the flashbacks and everything. The fact that they, that he keeps having these dream sequences, essentially, the flashbacks, and so they play Dream a Little Dream, and then at the end of the show they play another Cass Elliot song, although she famously covered Dream a Little Dream in the 60s. I don't know, there seemed to be a lot of moments
so
where it
here's
was
on the nose, yes. So
totally
I would
over
say,
my head.
yeah, exactly. I would say
Once again, you're too
the Cass Elliot doesn't count, but the other stuff, I mean, come on.
I feel like within the context of American television, you're allowed to be literary and not be called out as on the nose.
Yeah.
But for this show, I'm talking about by the standards of Mad Men. But they don't usually deliver it with a stamp and hand it to you, with the green thing on it.
I think it's okay that Don. The reason why I'm comfortable with the last line and not thinking that it's on the nose is because no one else there has any clue what that means. It almost seemed like he misspoke, and they get out of it by them all looking like. What?
Yeah.
We just say this
for a while.
Whorehouse? What does that mean? Right. What could that possibly mean?
Not to mention the yonic imagery behind Ted Shaw. Did anyone see the pattern behind him over the shoulder, which is just like vagina, 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 vagina?
No, I don't.
Oh God, it's one of those weird repeating patterns, and it just is the most yonic.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look at that one.
It's a good catch.
Okay, the home intruder.
Oh wow!
Whoa!
What a tense scene.
That was nutty, but what does underline the fact that because his kids know so little about Don, they're willing to buy into the possibility that maybe she is his mother.
Sally's so grown up. She's so much like we were talking about Sansa on Game of Thrones. Like in a sense, Sally's so much more grown up than Sansa, and they're like the same age. And she has that great moment where she's talking to him afterwards. Don afterwards, she's like, "Yeah, I asked all the right questions, but then I realized I don't know anything about you, Dad."
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And so every decision that Don has made has led to endangering his family in this perfect storm of what's wrong
And
with
then
him.
when he says that great moment is where it led to that huge blow to the gut, and then as she's hanging up, like Sally, and you're like, oh, here comes the heartfelt "I love you." Nope, no, we get I left the back door open. It was my fault. And
Yep.
she's like, okay.
Yeah.
Do we think that Sally summoned her into being by reading Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was some weird like
Did you,
hallucination.
for a moment, debate whether it was a home intruder?
I kind of went back and forth. I mean,
Yeah, I did.
clearly at the beginning, it's like, okay, obviously, this woman's ransacking the apartment, but then it's like, well, she could be.
Maybe
I mean,
there's some point that he was raised by
or
Grandma Ida.
Dave thought that maybe that she had raised the other Don Draper and didn't know that, who knows?
Oh, right,
wow.
of course,
Maybe.
right. I get so confused by that, but yeah, of course, that could
Who's
have been
worse?
a truth.
Who's worse to have actually shown care to Don as a young child, the home invader or the prostitute?
Yeah, I don't.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's right. But we debated it totally back and forth. My girlfriend was fairly certain that it was a home invader, and then I kind of convinced her that maybe it wasn't, and then obviously, but the Donald Draper, like she clearly read that off the.
Now, are there any
Off the-
good mothers on this show? Because let's think about it. I mean, you've got Peggy. I mean, not Peggy. You've got Betty. You've got
Peggy,
True, Peggy. Yeah, you've got Megan's
who
mother.
leaves.
Megan's mother.
There's one. She's certainly not Jewish, but she's got some annoying Jewish mother traits.
Mrs. Rosen.
No, Joni's mom.
Joni.
She's there. She takes care of the
but
baby.
She
But
berates
boy, she's a
her
pain in the
mother,
ass.
makes
she-
her feel like ass.
But she's present. I'll
She's
give you
present,
that, yeah.
and she loves her daughter, and she loves her
Yeah,
granddaughter.
but it's
and
this.
Son.
But it feels moderately selfish or at least spiteful. That weird
my
motherly
therapist
spite.
always says, like, when I talk to him about being a parent, he's like, it's not, people oversell it. It's not that hard. Just love them and be there.
Love them and be there.
That's it. And I was thinking, that doesn't seem like quite enough,
Yeah.
but Joni's mom
Well, okay,
meets
but
that.
these are the
She
standards.
meets
Then
that.
yes,
That's the
she
standard.
wins
Yeah,
Mother
yeah.
of the Year for this
Yeah,
show.
I guess like all her like weird shortcomings are like, who's that cute guy that
Right,
just
totally.
came in? Marry him now.
Right, yeah.
Stop
Put
hitting
up
on-
with your shitty husband.
Stop hitting on the super. Now we can't get service up here.
Totally right. Yeah. But no, I think you're right. Basically, of all the primary characters, there's no good mothering. There's no good parenting. Although I guess, well, I didn't think he was at first, but I guess Henry is actually a pretty good stepfather.
Yeah, he is. He really he knows when is the time and place to do this. What the hell is he doing with Betty?
Yeah.
That's what that question's rearing
You
its
know,
head.
I mean, I'm sure she is visually the ideal politician's wife.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, I mean,
Boy, his mother, there's another piece of work.
Right. Totally. His mother. Yeah.
And
when
Roger's mother.
But he's there for like, even there was that nice moment when he says he'd clearly been talking to Don, and he hands Sally the phone, and he's like, you need to talk to your dad. Like, he even knows to mend that relationship, and he's telling Betty, like, Betty, not right now, not in front of the cops, not in front of me, not in front of everybody, just like, yeah.
The way Betty says, he's running for office. Like, there's such a shrill moment of like, oh God,
And that-
Betty,
yeah.
relax.
But isn't it possible that Megan's mom is okay?
I think she's great,
Yeah.
but you know, come on. This is the woman who talks about how like, oh, when the kids are going grand-mère, she hates that.
Yeah.
And she's trying to fob the flowers off. So she is not down for the mother role at all.
No, she doesn't have that gene.
No.
That's true.
yeah, she might be awesome. She's not an awesome mother.
So I thought when we did that, we mentioned it in our Game of Thrones review recap too. But there was that great line in Game of Thrones of God is, and I thought that the gods have given us two great pleasures: the fucking a woman who wants to be fucked and killing a man who wants to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought Mad Men had also an equally fantastic line, which was simply, "Are we Negroes? Are we Negroes?"
Cool. Okay, good. Thanks. It was Bobby
And it was
that
so-
said
and-
that.
and- yeah, Bobby says it, and I love it because he says it really without a great deal of distress. There's no malice. He's like, "Are we Negroes? Did I miss this? And if we are, okay, but I need to be clued in." Yeah,
He's gonna get a spin-off. That's so Bobby. Just absolutely. How about the fact that there's a whole episode is on drugs?
Yeah, that was manic. I mean, the just seeing everybody respond to it in the different ways, especially bearded guy. I'm always forgetting his name.
Oh, art guy. Stan? No,
Stan was like out of control with the. I've got 666 ideas.
Yeah.
You know?
Love Stan. Stan's growing on me. That beard is so intense.
The beard is great.
Just
That's a great
fantastic beard.
I'm envious of that beard.
And then to be able that obviously he has a genuine moment, and even though he's sort of, it's almost a perfect degree of amount of sexual harassment, because Peggy's okay with it.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
he doesn't really force it. He tried one more time.
Yeah,
You know,
he did that.
he gave it one more shot. But what he said was clearly, I didn't think it was not an effort just to have sex. He meant it. It was just he found an opportunity to actually talk about something real with somebody.
So
And then you've got crazy I Ching girl.
Oh, right. No, she the daughter
of the dead
she's
guy.
the daughter
Yeah.
of the dead guy. We find out at the end.
God, yeah.
I almost went back and rewound to be like, all
that
right, let's
his
make
name?
sure, let's corroborate names here, but I was relatively certain that was the only person. I love just the narrative structure of this episode, all the being in and out of time, non-linear storytelling. There's that weird moment where Dawn is so on drugs and it all feels like an out-of-body experience. It mimics in the storytelling how crazy like Dawn's upbringing is and what's going on inside of everybody. And I thought that was masterful. I love this.
The whole
episode.
notion of it's Saturday. You know?
Yeah, I don't know when it's happening, where it's happening, but really, for this to be the episode where they teach us exactly what Dawn's first sexual experience was, I thought it was the right amount of manic.
So I mean, I think we can now probably go backwards, and be like, abuse victim, and then all these things fall into place now.
Right, and of course we don't know. Was that the only time? I mean, right. What happens
don't
after
know.
that?
I mean, one thing we've already kind of touched on is that we may find out way more.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
how about that scene? Two great scenes. I mean, of standing in, putting the cigarettes out. The great phone conversation between what's her name, Stacy? That's not
Mrs.
her name.
Rosen.
Sheila. Sheila
No,
and Don
okay,
on the
right.
phone, just where she's. That was a great phone conversation, full of awkwardness and the right amount of tension and I just thought that was so great, and also at a time when like it was so simple, like, oh, you called, and then if you can't reach him, like, you can't reach him, like that's
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Like there's no emailing, there's no texting, there's no nothing. The phone was everything.
Yeah, you want to stalk somebody, you have to stand outside in their hallway and smoke cigarettes.
Right, smoke cigarettes, and then that even more painful moment of him leaning up against the door,
and
listening to the
man.
music. Yeah.
And that song, by the way, is I Can't Take My Eyes Off of You.
Oh, is that right?
really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a little other.
See?
Yeah, that was. I didn't know. I never noticed music. And then that's right before he comes upstairs and finds out that his grandma Ida was in there.
Not Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. It says, I just keep going out of my head over you.
It's
Sorry,
even more,
which is even more on the
so,
nose,
right.
yeah.
And then goes upstairs and finds out the house has been burgled, and because it's 9 o'clock at night, so he didn't come home till Sunday night at
Right.
9:05.
Ugh. I definitely thought to myself, this is the Mulholland Drive of Mad Men episodes.
Totally, yeah.
You know,
Way more linear, though.
last time I was on the show, we spoke about how you kind of sum up what the episode's about. What
boy,
did you
not
think this was
one.
about?
I have no idea.
I felt like a lot of it. I wrote coping a lot. How people cope. Playing. How people are taught to cope with things. There's like someone is confronted about coping with sex and drugs.
It's coping
and
with the death.
with the
Sure.
death of his
friend.
and Don is coping with the loss of control, and what he does is just kind of launch himself, albeit in like a drug-filled rant, into finding what advertising really is,
Right.
and then I don't know. I
think
was thinking about trying to bring it down to that one theme.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I think to some extent the show is sort of about like what's bubbling underneath the surface, and what comes roaring out at the least convenient moments. I don't know. It's hard to this one's hard to pinpoint, but I think it's going to be interesting to see now with just the revelations of this episode and the behavior of this episode, how it colors, what's the left of this season and next year.
4 episodes? Is it 12
I
episodes?
think they have 4 episodes left.
And then there's one more season after this. So, and that's something I thought during this episode, as everyone's in their drug-filled, not stupor, but opposite of that, their
Right.
drug-filled insanity.
right.
Mania.
Yeah, is just, and you touched on it last week, is like, are we really fully ready to embrace Don just losing it completely?
I think
and is
but he
its
was
heading.
back at the end. I mean, he was so back
He
at
was
the end.
he was back, but as much as you
He's
can
like,
be.
sorry about the funeral. Sorry your buddy died. I'm not doing this
what is
anymore.
he
Let me
doing?
know when you have some work, and I'll either say yes or no.
Yeah, but he calls this place a whorehouse, and it's like this merger was supposed to be the solution in taking back control and making some kind of order in his life.
And I don't think I don't think Harry Hamlin and Ted are as snowed by Don as the rest of the advertising industry is.
definitely
So
not.
I think he's definitely that's something. I love the scene where when he's all super high and talking about how he needs to be in the room because of the timbre of his voice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was-
Because while you're watching Mad Men, you have to watch those fucking American Airlines commercials with him narrating them, and it's
right,
all
right,
about
yeah.
the timbre of his voice.
the
you
timbre of his
know?
voice, and then he's like, I don't know whether I'll be. He's like, I don't know if I'll be emotional or I'll be like
Pleading
he
or-
doesn't even
yeah.
know. And then at the great scene with Ginsburg and with Peggy in his office,
Yeah.
where he's like, no, he can't finish the sentence. He's like me on this show. He can't finish a full thought, and then he's like, no, this is. Oh, this could be everything. And Peggy's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I love Peggy. I like drunk
Have you been
Peggy.
doing anything this weekend on Chevy? And then he's writing down what Ginsburg said. He's like, oh, that's good. Ginsburg came up.
It's like when people talk about, you know, this was the drug I never did, but when people talk about coke dreams, you know, like people who'd like do a ton of cocaine and they had these like unveil these super elaborate plans of like the screenplay they were going to write or the store they were going to open or whatever, and of course didn't do it anyway because they were just too busy and sitting in the corner grinding their teeth. You know, I think we have the same thing here with them.
It's funny when I take, I sleep very poorly and I take Ambien whenever I travel. I used to take it even at home. I've now thankfully stopped. But whenever I travel, I have to take Ambien, or I don't sleep at all. And then even if I take it for 2 or 3 days, when I come off it, my dreams are like so vivid that you're reminded that there's something up with this fucking drug, right? And the dreams are so intense, like they're just so incredibly real. And I wake up and I'm like, wow. Sometimes it'll just be like eating a sandwich, but the sandwich is right there. That's as close as I've come to Coke.
And the dreams end in, I was raised in a whorehouse.
And I was raised in a
That's
totally.
fantastic.
Megan and Don have any future? Any
It
possibility?
seems like he's so checked out. And Megan, we're kind of.
She's clearly career first at this point,
Yeah.
I think, and I don't blame her.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, she ought to be.
We saw Betty come back in this episode.
Yeah.
Because she's pretty good.
And she's back to blonde and thin.
I mean, she shouldn't have left, but I mean, the fact is, you can leave a 14-year-old girl with her kids in the apartment. If she had just gone out for a night at the play, it's okay. When there was
if
other.
somebody locks the back door, you
Right.
can.
If
Right.
someone does that, but also like the strange like bribery situation, the payment method
Right.
that Megan has.
Yeah,
in
but it's
store.
still, it's like, I mean, that's she's a moderately
you pay kids
responsible
to
step-up.
babysit. That's
Yeah,
not,
that's
you know.
true.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
it, like,
even if they're related.
they kind of set it up that like this is a thing that happens now,
Right.
and the acceptance and versus fighting back. There was that time in the last episode where Megan was fighting back against, beating back against the tide of Dawn, just kind of not caring anymore with oral pleasures and stimulation.
And
And
that
this one
dress.
is just like, screw it, I'm just gonna give Sally clothes to watch the kids.
And by the way, quick, just because there's so much of the whorehouse in this episode, that we get a setup of that when Betty asks Sally what street corner she earned the money on to buy that dress.
Worst. There's not a moment that you just can't.
I kind of love it though. It's kind of a hilarious line. Like,
Yeah.
Well done. You're just calling your daughter a whore. And she's so not.
As great as bad moms go, she's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Are we missing anything? Did we?
No Joan this episode, no Bob this episode.
Yeah, and Pete for
2 seconds.
2 seconds. I mean, that's how out of it he is, right?
Yeah.
Now, even though we got in the previous episode, was that in the previous episode, or did I just watch it about how they saved Bob's job?
That was the previous
last
episode.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, was it in previously on Mad Men? Like they said.
Oh, at the beginning of the show, no.
No, I went back and watched that scene again, and it was just remarkable how quickly Harry Hamlin turned to letting his own guy go.
Yeah, with the slightest nudge.
Yeah, because originally he's like, nope, 3 of yours got to go, 3 of ours got to go, that's that. And then Joan's like, well, it might hurt Chevy. He's like, all right, Lawrence is gone. This meeting over? Yeah. But Harry Hamlin is very good.
He is.
Really good.
Yeah. In the future, so what do we think is going to become of Don now that he said he's going back to creative director and Call Me in 1970?
Yeah.
Like, what do we make of that?
You know, I would love to see this show take the gamble of like killing Don off like at the end of this season,
Oh,
and then
wow.
doing a whole season with Adam. That'll never happen. But I think that would be
But
fascinating to watch.
What's interesting is that where I always thought they might do it, and it was hinted at maybe a little bit this week. I mean, what's up? What is that cough? What does he have? Like, is that possible?
Right.
Is that that flashed him back to to the cold and the?
It's just what our sickness is. I feel like whenever someone's sick and there's a cough, it doesn't mean that they're physically sick. It means there's something dysfunctional inside them.
Although in
that's
shitty
eating
movies,
away
when
at them.
somebody coughs, they will be dead.
They
within
will.
10
Totally,
minutes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, also, but I mean, but cancer and smoking, it's a very real thing that they
True.
could.
But all of us, were you all expecting when someone
blood.
coughs,
Totally
there's
expecting
no blood? Like you
Totally.
don't have a handkerchief unless
there's
there's
gonna be blood. I was
It's like
totally-
if there's a gun in the first act, it's gonna get used.
So you get on him for a little bit of the spot on. God bless him for not putting blood on the
You're right.
handkerchief.
Okay. Kudos, Madman.
Next episode.
All right, so that Mad Men, no Game of Thrones next week, but Mad Men is back with
Yes,
episode 9
so we'll be here.
next week. Thanks, everybody.